Hello, hello. I'm sorry for starting late, about 10 minutes late. I'm having a headache yet again. Fucking hell. Hello, Tama. Hello, Cynthia. Thank you for checking in and also being here. Thank you very much. Give me a second here. Oh, and thank you for checking in. Wait, didn't I just say that? Thank you for checking in. Thank you for being first and checking in. There you go. 19 times. That's crazy, Cynthia. Not many people can watch Tamashi 33 19 times consecutively. Thank you very much. This is the wrong thing I'm looking here. Me. True. I wonder if you guys can hear the music. Let me make sure, because OBS has been playing with my feelings lately. There we go. Yeah, OBS has been pretty fucking weird lately. It's been kind of making me angry, not gonna lie. But let me make sure that you guys can hear stuff here. Hopefully it works, but we'll see. I guess eventually we'll see if you guys can hear things or not. But hello, my name is Tamashi, and all I gotta say is Tama Days. Yes, that is my catchphrase. Do not ask. I'm a grumpy Latina VTuber who lives in Japan. I'm a political commentator who commentates politically twice a week, Tuesday and Thursdays, aka today. And on the rest of those days, Friday and Saturday, I do variety streaming. And they end up being pretty fun and chaotic. But today, we're going to be speaking on things that matter to me and should matter to you as well. Now, yeah, I do hear music. Thank you so much, Cynthia, for confirming that with me. Last week, I was planning on watching like a 4-part docu-series by Al Jazeera about the Nakba, but they're each like 40 minutes long, and with me pausing and commentating, it would end up being like over an hour each. Thankfully though, I had a PowerPoint made from a long time ago, and also a video source from Al Jazeera themselves as well, explaining to what led to the Nakba. Basically, after defeating the Ottoman Empire, British was in charge of Palestine and had taken over Palestine, promising, them and other Arab leaders independence, okay? Their own country, finally their own governance. But what happened instead is that they just sent a bunch of Jewish people from all over Europe that, the British didn't want in their country, and just gave a whole ass country to these Jewish people, gave them weapons and everything, and said, here, listen, just kill everyone and you get to keep this land. And that is where the first Nakba began. Technically speaking, there was more Nakbas before, like the one we're referencing here, but we're definitely referencing the one after World War II in 1948. Now, we learned to briefly, obviously, what led to the Nakba in 1948. But the thing is, we didn't get to reflect or see what happened during it. So that's what I want to talk about during this TamaTalks. Before we do that, however, I wanted to give you guys an update on the flotilla boats. As you can see here, you guys, or you guys and me as well, in 40 minutes are gonna have a live stream on the arrival of every kidnapped person that was on the flotilla boats. It has been official that they have all been released. They were all captured, and just now it's basically breaking news that they are being returned to their respective countries. The thing is, this is why I also kind of took a while to start stream, because I had just found out that they released everyone. Guys, let me just tell ya that literally yesterday they were flaunting that they were abusing everyone on the flotilla boats that they captured. And now the whole world is once again disgusted at Israel's actions for, like, you know, being super proud of, like, disrespecting people who are obviously trying to give food to Palestinians, food, medicine, and anything else that they need, blankets. What the fuck? Tens? So let's start with that, obviously. Here's the Freedom Flotilla Coalition. Mobilize now. We will not be quiet and sit on our hands while the US-backed Zionist regime illegally detains and tortures over 10,000 Palestinian political prisoners and more than 450 international activists with total impunity. And of course, here is them trying to encourage you and me to contact your local governments, all around the world, by the way, because again, like I said before, there's at least one person from each country on these boats. So it's most likely that someone from your country was trying to feed Palestinian children, then they got captured by Israel. And unfortunately, yeah, everyone got captured. There was one boat left in the last stream I was talking about, but literally after ending stream a few hours later, they got captured by Israeli soldiers. Sadistic dudes, sheesh. No, yeah, they really are. They just can't help themselves. So update. Israel's abuse of flotilla activists demand an end to Israel's genocidal policies against Palestine, Lebanon, and the release of all activists. So, chat, again, viewer discretion is advised. Nothing too graphic, but let me turn off the music here. This is Ben Gavir, okay, recording himself mocking all of the everyone here that you see. By the way, here, maybe I should zoom in for y'all. There's no, obviously doesn't go against TOS, but if you guys are sensitive, then yeah. All of these people in this scene right here are the flotilla activists. They have them on their knees, bent down on the floor, as they record them and mock them for, you know, trying to help people in Palestine. Let's see what the caption says here. It says, after visiting as many imprisoned flotilla volunteers as possible, lawyers from Adalah, which is the legal center for Arab minority rights in Israel, report systemic violations of due process and widespread physical and psychological abuse against the volunteers, revealing a new pattern of physical abuse deliberately used by Israeli authorities. So we're gonna see these exact Israeli authorities, you know, not like, they just can't stop being shitty people and proving to the world that they abuse not only Palestinians but prisoners, okay? Prisoners, for the simple fact of, like, trying to help Palestinians survive. Boop. So that song you hear in the background, by the way, I believe that is like Israel's national anthem. So they bent them, they put them on their knees, they forced them to have their face on the floor. And that's a very uncomfortable position, by the way. So physically, that is torturous if you're on the floor for a long period of time like that. A lot of these activists are also elderly people, by the way, chat. Okay. So take note of that as well. But then not only do they have them like in this position for a long ass time, they're also like playing the Israeli national anthem repeatedly. I guess to mock them. I don't know what. Like, imagine if someone was torturing you and you're not American, and then America forced you to hear the "oh, say can you see." I feel like that's a form of torture, psychological. Why did it stop? I just realized it's not playing, huh? It's either I just noticed this has conveniently chat this piece of evidence. I should have made sure, but they're cropping out Ben Gavir's face here. Very conveniently. Very interesting. Also, the clip just stops working at the point where it shows him walking around with the Israeli flag and again mocking everyone. Again, all of these people are the Flotia activists that are on the floor, by the way. I should have made sure that this clip would, show everything, but I deeply apologize for that. But you guys get the picture, I'm sure. Let me see. Oh, I have another one, though, thank God. Okay. I have another one. No, you guys will see his face doing the shit. There we go. Here, this is, see, there he is, the fucking asshole. Look, urgent, activists from the Global Summit Flotia are being attacked, forced to say, I don't know what that is, but I'm not gonna say it, and abused by Israeli forces under the supervision of Israel's Minister of National Security, Itamar Ben-Gvir. Okay, this guy is the... He did the same thing last year with the other Flotia members. He personally was attacking Greta Thunberg as well to her face. It is said that he forced her to kiss the Israeli flag while she was on her knees, while also being hit and attacked by soldiers under, his command. The thing is like we couldn't really see all of that. He recorded some of it. Like, bro can't help. He can't stop recording, but he didn't record as much as he recorded this time, let me tell you. So right here it says a female activist can be heard screaming while being attacked in the background. Okay, now this again, once again, viewer discretion is advised. Nothing goes against TOS here, but still giving a warning. Watch this. This is that fucking asshole, okay? But yeah, you literally hear someone like screaming bloody murder in the background as this motherfucker is saying BS, okay? Whatever the fuck he's saying, it's fucking propaganda. He's trying to make He's speaking in his native language, okay? Just think about it. Fucker. Yeah, Cynthia. That's what I'm saying. Just think about it, though. This guy is not talking to you or to me. Because if he was, he'd be speaking English. And that's what Israel does all the time, is that when they want to spread a specific narrative to make themselves the victims, they're going to be speaking in English. Right now, he's speaking in his native language. He's talking to the people of Israel, and he's telling them, look, we got the activists, we're torturing them, we're mocking them, and I'm mocking them, and you like it, and I like it. Look at the chicks, just hear the chick screaming in the background. Just hear the chick screaming in the fucking background. I don't know what the fuck they're doing to her. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they broke her arm. I don't know. But that's shit like that. That's what they do all the goddamn time. That's what they do all the goddamn time. And bro just recorded himself doing that, okay? They can't help themselves. They just fucking can't. So, this is a recent update as of literally like an hour ago, probably. A few minutes ago. It's an updating story, as you can see. Before I started stream, I saw that there was a live stream for this. I think they literally just live streamed an hour ago as well, doing a press conference. But this is, let me see, when was this posted? 8:45 p.m. So about, 3 hours ago? It says all Flotilla activists released from Israeli prison being deported from Adalah, okay? All detained Global Summit Flotilla and Freedom Flotilla Coalition activists have been released from Kitzot prison and are being transferred to Ramon Airport for deportation. Palestinian Human Rights Legal Center Adalah confirmed Thursday, which is today for me. Adalah, which provided legal representation to the detained activists, said it is actively monitoring the transit process to ensure safe deportation, while emphasizing that the entire operation, from the unlawful interception in, again, international waters. This is an illegal they detained them illegally. Okay, everything that these flotilla members did is legal. The fact that they're being kidnapped is illegal, okay? They weren't even in Israeli waters. Again, international waters. To the systemic torture, humiliation, arbitrary detention of peaceful activists constitutes a flagrant violation of international law. The rapid deportation comes after Netanyahu and Foreign Minister Saar publicly disagreed with National Security Minister Ben-Gvir over his abuse of the detainees. Really? Because last time, I'm not kidding, I think it was like last night, I saw Netanyahu, supposedly, rumors were going around that Netanyahu was proud of Ben-Gvir doing this. And now all of a sudden he disagrees with the guy that he hired for his national security. Okay. Bro, Ben-Gvir did this last year. What is he fucking talking about? Over his abuse of the detainees, and amid the New York Times and UN's documented findings of systemic torture and sexual violence against Palestinian prisoners held in the same Israeli detention system. So recently, after 3 years, the New York Times finally, again, the New York Times was one of the main spreaders of the false propaganda after October 7th that said that Hamas was raping everyone, that Hamas beheaded like 40 infants' heads during October 7th, and that they were kidnapping innocent Israeli civilians. They kidnapped soldiers, and everything that they claimed Hamas did and again, I'm not saying that Hamas didn't use violence, but really beheading 30 children, that's something very easy to prove. They couldn't prove any of that, okay? But I can easily find 30 kids in Palestine without heads, okay? For me, that's very easy to prove. And the New York Times was spreading that false narrative for many years until it was proven that they didn't do their due diligence. They didn't really know if it was true or not, and were basically spreading hearsay without making sure that it was real. And now, finally, after 3 years of genocide, the New York Times admits that in reality, it's Israel that does the systemic torture and sexual violence against Palestinians and anyone who is a prisoner to them. And Netanyahu didn't like that. I think he's planning on suing the New York Times because they this time they decided not to spread propaganda against Palestinians, but instead decided to spread a very obvious truth, showing the reality of what Israel does to their prisoners. So it's very funny to me that he goes, "Oh, that's not, Ben-Gvir did something wrong, and so did the New York Times." I'm like, okay, come on. Thank you for being second, Allie. Thank you very much. So right here, the Global Summit Flotilla announced it will hold a press conference addressing the torture, abuse, and humiliation carried out against detained volunteers by Israeli forces at 8 a.m. ET. I'm gonna sneeze. Thank you for being third now. Gracias. Nice to see you. Also, thank you for checking in, Allie, 21 times. 21. That is a lot of times. Thank you very much. Sorry for sneezing on your guys' face. So there's going to be a press conference, which already happened actually about like an hour ago down here by the Global Summit Flotilla. So if you guys want to check out, just like subscribe to the Global Summit Flotilla YouTube, and you can see the most recent press conference highlighting all of this. But yeah, it's been confirmed that all of the Flotilla activists that were captured, captured off of their flotilla boats trying to send aid to Palestine, again captured illegally, then also tortured illegally, while, you know, Ben-Gvir is fucking having fun torturing them in the background. You can hear people screaming as they're on the fucking floor, okay? And you can even hear people screaming in the background from whatever the fuck they're doing. That's all been documented. This has spread everywhere, and now they're gonna be released. We'll see what will happen next after this. This has forced people to, again, look at Israel and look at what they're doing to their prisoners, okay? What these fucking flotilla activists and civilians from around the world are doing and are facing, it's very minuscule to what like Palestinians actually go through. Right now, Palestinian prisoners are at risk of being executed for no reason other than trying to survive, helping people, or, you know, being falsely accused of crimes. And by looking at what these Europeans, Westerners, and other people around the world who want to help Palestinians, by looking at videos like this that fucking Israel loves recording themselves doing, people are forced to recognize, oh my god, what about the Palestinian prisoners? Oh shit. We gotta, like, do something about it. We have to make sure that Israel doesn't execute their prisoners and stops torturing them like this. Thank you for being a lurker, Snell. Don't worry, and have a good day. So in a sense, it sucks. It really does suck that there hasn't been any flotilla boats that were able to send aid to Palestine. It really does bum me out. But at the same time, them being captured and there being eyes on what they go through in prison helps like regular people like you and me realize that, yeah, you know, what Israel's doing is illegal. And we have to pay attention to what they're doing to their prisoners, not just the Westerners, but of course those who are Palestinians in Israeli prisons. So that is a quick update on the Global Summit flotilla boats. Fortunately, everyone is going to be returned, but the fight continues on. They will not stop until Palestine is free. And until then, they will still try to send aid to Palestine. So please support them when whenever you can. Now, to the main topic at hand. Let's continue the main topic and reflecting on the Nakba. Last week, we had like a brief history. We learned a brief history of how things led to the Nakba. And basically, it's all the British's fault. They ruined everything. And basically gave weapons to the Jewish people they didn't want in their countries and said, hey, if you can kill everyone in Palestine, the land is yours. That mentality continues to this day. Now we're going to look at what happened in Palestine during the Nakba in 1948. So we're going to look at a trailer of a short clip. We're going to look at a trailer and a short clip of a documentary that was released about a year or two ago of interviews with Israeli soldiers during the Nakba, okay? What they did during the Nakba in a small village called what was it? Let me see. Tantura, okay? That was what it was called. Tantura. And the thing is, chat, is, of course, I don't want to get copyright struck. Last time I played something that's, a documentary or not even a documentary, but like a movie, YouTube did not like that. It did not like that. I got my first strike that way. So I figured a trailer by Al Jazeera should be fine. But we'll see. We'll see, okay? So let's look at this trailer of the documentary Tantura, where Israeli soldiers are remembering what they did during the Nakba, specifically on a village in Palestine that used to be called Tantura. Let's look at it. Chilling and blood boiling. My name is Teddy Katz. I've had a few strokes. I'm not sure that I remember everything. The first stroke was connected to this affair. Real Peak Films presents History. I made myself forget. We're done with Teddy Katz. I didn't talk to anyone about it. Why would I tell her that I was a murderer? This is where they said, this is where they said those things. You can take the tapes. But be careful because you'll be hunted down like I was. People went wild in Tantura. It was awful. These are mass graves in the village. There's a cemetery that turned into a parking lot. They put them in a barrel and shot at the barrel. And I remember blood in the barrel. That's not who we are. We are a pure nation. There was no massacre. It's not true. There were stories.
Ethnic cleansing, which is what happened here, is exactly executed like that. There's no big program.
There was an order from Ben. Drive the people out. We were kids, 18 years old. We occupied Tentura. We caught a lot of Arabs. We rounded them up. He simply took them and murdered them in the enclosures. How many were killed? Some 270, 280. Yeah, I buried them. It never happened. I happened to look and I saw bodies of my father and brother.
I don't believe witnesses.
You see an open trench there? This I never heard. The truth has its own power. There needs to be a change in thinking to acknowledge the Nakba here. Of course, it's much easier to ignore the whole thing and then you walk with a clear conscience. I don't want to talk about it, that's it. But it happened. What can you do? It happened. Yeah. I'm just reading it. Available now on fucking video on demand. The fucking thing that we caused. Jesus Christ. So that is the trailer for it. Anyone out there who is willing to watch a documentary, you should definitely watch it. I've been wanting to watch it. I believe it's through Apple. I hope not. I hope that me and you can watch it through a different way, an easier way. But I heard that it's a really good documentary made in Israel, okay, of someone actually trying to find the truth, finding the truth, and interviewing those who literally participated in the Nakba. That is just something that you have to witness for yourself and see how these soldiers, live their lives happily after, murdering a bunch of people and covering it up, and how the civilians respond to that as well. Now, I hope that my stream is still okay. Give me a second to just look at my stream here and see if it's okay. So far it's fine. They didn't stop my stream, right? I hope not. That would fucking suck, chat. Last time I didn't notice that they stopped my stream midway when I was showing something that was movie-like. So, okay, everything seems fine. Everything seems fine. Okay, we're good. We're good. Let's take it a step further, though. Let's look at a small clip from this documentary. It's low quality, but it has been used as Al Jazeera talking point. We saw part of the interviews in the last TamaTalks video that we were reacting to, and they did use clips from that specific documentary to highlight how happily people from Israel are, or how proud they are about what they did to help Israel become what it is today. So I will be reading the captions for those who are just listening and are unable to look at the screen, okay? Tell me if the clip is too loud though, but this is an ex-Israeli soldier that participated in the Nakba, specifically destroying a small village called Tantura. Okay, so he says, the events in Tantura were crazy and horrifying. Tantura was a rich village and had beautiful houses. Its residents lived like Europeans, you know? And the women of the village used to wear nice clothes. For real, it wasn't a village. One of the soldiers raped a 16-year-old girl. Do you understand? The events there were horrendous. There was a guy with us. Sorry, I was in shock at how he laughed. How he laughed after fucking saying that. Why? That's insane. There was a guy with us, a soldier. He's dead now. He was a brutal human being. He took them Palestinians, put them in a cage, and killed them. They gathered them in something like a cage and put iron wires around them. They gathered all the men, sat them on the ground, and one of the soldiers got the submachine gun and shot them. He changed the cartilage. What do you think? But we were not like that. That person was different and unusual. They imposed a cover-up. There were soldiers who took flamethrowers and ran the villages and burned them. It was horrible. And no one is allowed to talk about that. I won't talk about that because it would be such a big scandal. I don't want to talk about it. In the first 3 or 4 months, I was a murderer. What do you mean? I took no prisoners. In a battle, if someone raised their hands, I didn't arrest them. That traumatized me. I can't get over it until today. I murdered people. I'm so traumatized. I didn't even give them a chance to be arrested. I just straight up killed them. I killed so much people and murdered them. I'm the victim. I'm traumatized, chat. If school kids stood up and raised their hands and saw them that day, I would have killed them all. Jesus fucking Christ. What? How many people have you killed this way? I didn't count. I wouldn't be able to know. I had 200 bullets in my gun. And I shot from it and killed everyone. I can't count. Oh God. Ooh. But he's the one that's traumatized? Question mark. That's just a clip from that documentary of the trailer that I just showed you guys. Both of them are obviously complicit in genocide. It's just very annoying to me that even then, like, thank God they're willing to talk and be confident to talk about what they did. But Jesus Christ, I don't like that they keep reinforcing the thought of like, oh yeah, I'm the victim here, by the way. I killed all these people. I witnessed these people being killed. I stayed quiet about it. And yeah, I'm the victim. Hashtag I'm the victim. And that sort of mentality just is always repeated all the time. Even to this day with like modern day soldiers from Israel. And the thing is, remember one thing. The reason why people condemn Israel and, you know, especially the citizens of Israel is not as black and white as you see it. or it's not for like, purely, it's not anti-Semitism to call out Zionists. There's plenty of, well, not plenty, not enough, I guess, but there are people in Israel who do not agree with dehumanizing Palestinians and actually fight for Palestinian rights. But you gotta understand that everyone in Israel is required to participate in the Israeli military. If you refuse service, if you refuse to go out there, kill Palestinians, assist in killing Palestinians, or help legalize killing Palestinians, okay, you go to jail for a couple of months. Many people are willing to go commit war crimes in Palestine. Okay? Not, there is a choice to just go to jail instead of, killing children, like this guy was very happily laughing about. But most of them don't do that. That's why most of everyone in Israel is complicit in genocide, because they've literally participated in it. Literally, like they go out there. If you've worked for the military in some way or form, I would say the same thing about my own country. If you live in a country that is a colonist, known for colonizing or ruining other countries, and if you participate in the military, I'm sorry, buddy, but the truth is you participate in colonization and genocide. And that's a reality as well for people in Israel. Now, let's watch a brief recollection of what happened during the Nakba by watching a documentary. Thank God it's already recommended to me right there. It's the first one. The Nakba, How Palestinians Were Expelled from Their Homes. This is by Vox, and this was made 3 years ago. So we're going to look at that. I will play the video, but I will go get some water because I forgot to bring some with me. But I'll be right back, okay?
My village is a very beautiful one. It has a mountain full of trees of figs and grapes.
I'll be back. I'll zoom in for you.
It faces the main road to Jerusalem.
This is a story about what happened here in 1948.
We are only 750 people, and everybody knows each other. I came from a big family. We lived a good life. We never expect to be massacred. It was a black spot in the history.
That history has been carefully concealed, purposefully distorted, and in the West, largely forgotten.
They put our village as an example with what they can do.
The massacre in this village was one of many in a series of catastrophic events that became known as the Nakba, when hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were violently displaced from their homeland in order to create the state of Israel.
Okay, I'm back.
In May of 1948, a new Jewish state, Israel, was born in a bath of blood.
Wait, 1948? New Jewish state? Called Israel? 1948? You're telling me that Israel didn't exist before that? That didn't exist for thousands and thousands of years? Because it's the promised land? Based off the specific verse in the Bible? That Israel? Okay.
The borders of Palestine have been changed forcefully over time, but historically, this region has been home to Palestinians for centuries, with hundreds of villages and thriving cities. One of them being the central city of Jerusalem, with holy sites important to Jewish, Christian, and Muslim people. By the late Ottoman Empire, Palestinians living here were overwhelmingly Muslim, with minority Christian and Jewish native populations too. But regardless of religion, Palestinians were often referred to as Arabs, people of the Arabic-speaking world, despite their distinctive culture.
Palestinians have long distinguished themselves as Ahl Palestine, or the people of Palestine. They developed a distinctive Arabic accent, they developed regional food, regional dress, and family ties.
But by the time World War I began, several key political forces were competing for control of these lands. First, there was a growing Arab political movement, looking for independence from the Ottoman Empire in hopes of a unified Arab state that would include Palestine. Then there were Zionists, a political group that had one main goal: the creation of a Jewish state. Zionism was a response to an increasingly brutal climate for Jewish people, particularly in Europe and Russia, where there was a massive wave of anti-Semitism, including large-scale attacks in the late 1800s and early 1900s. After briefly considering other areas for a new state, including Uganda and Argentina, Zionist leaders decided on Palestine because of its connection to early religious history. But there was a third key group with political interests here: the British. Control of the region would allow them to expand their spheres of influence and protect trade routes to India. During World War I, since both the British and the Arab independence movement wanted Palestine, they decided to go after the Ottomans together with an important pledge. Through a series of letters in 1916, an Arab leader and a British official agreed that if Arabs would help the British fight the Ottomans and give the British economic and other foreign privileges in Arab lands, in return, the British would recognize and support an independent Arab state. Soon,
which was a lie. We learned that 2 days ago, unfortunately.
The Arabs started doing their part in revolting against the Ottomans, making it easier for the British to move in. But the next year, the British issued a new declaration and betrayed the Arabs.
Yep, of course they did.
In 1917, Lord Allenby conquered the Holy Land, and the Jews were promised a national home in Palestine.
Without consulting the native Palestinian population, the British issued what's known as the Balfour Declaration, supporting the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. So instead of supporting the idea of Palestine as part of a unified and independent Arab state, the British pledged to help secure this land for Zionists. It was a strategic move. This declaration opened up a pathway for Britain to gain power in Palestine,
under the guise that it was supporting the self-determination of another people, of a people in Palestine who don't reside there yet.
As for Palestine's majority Arab population, the declaration referred to them as non-Jewish communities, who would be given civil and religious rights, but not political rights. A few years later, after World War I ended, Britain gained control of Palestine through a mandate.
But you guys see how important politics is? Britain straight up did not give Palestinians any political rights. And that is what led to their dehumanization and genocide. Which is why it's pretty ridiculous when people in the streaming sphere get like so fucking offended or defensive, you know, when people demand more from them to at least acknowledge or at least respect politics that focus on human rights. You know? Like, oh, stop doing shitty things, or, you know, that could be taken the wrong way, or your costume is basic Nazi paraphernalia. How do you say that word? Help me out, chat. Paraphernalia. It's a recollection of Nazism because, you know, Japanese culture, especially from back then, during World War II, romanticized their ties with Nazi Germany and genocide, by the way. But like, oh, fuck you, how dare you, you know, force me to acknowledge the things that are insinuated by the things I interact with or the things that I do. It's just like, if you ignore this shit, it will affect you or it will affect other people. And it will usually result in death. And look at this. Because Britain refused to give Palestinians any political power, for them to survive on their own. That's the whole reason why everyone's dying right now over there. It's insane.
That also required them to put the Balfour plans for Jewish settlement in motion. And they did. Between 1922 and 1931, the Jewish population more than doubled. The migration helped the Zionist movement gain steam, and a slogan took off: a land without people for a people without land.
And it sends a message to Western
Wow.
leaders that the people who had been living in
They even admit it
for generations could just be easily moved elsewhere. The idea was that those inhabitants weren't a people with ties to that land.
Palestine was, of course, a land with a people. In 1931, there were more than 850,000 Palestinian Arabs in the region, still the vast majority. But with the rise of Hitler and the Nazi Party in particular,
hate became a rallying call.
Jewish flight from Europe became even more urgent, and Palestine started to see the biggest wave of Jewish immigration yet. Violence broke out, rooted in tensions over land. Jewish settlers purchased swaths of fertile land and evicted tenant farmers, creating a crisis of hundreds of thousands of landless, dispossessed Palestinian Arabs. Though Palestinians fiercely rebelled against both British colonial forces and Jewish settlers, they were brutally crushed by the British.
They put in Palestine more troops to repress that rebellion than they had stationed in India at that time, all of India.
These troops killed thousands of Palestinians, including many of their leaders, and the British began training and arming Zionist militias to suppress the rebellion too.
That's
But the
crazy.
rebellion continued. So, in an attempt to prevent further Palestinian resistance, the British began to limit Jewish immigration into Palestine. This ended up angering Zionist extremists, leading to more violence. So, in 1947, after decades of trying to manipulate both Palestinian Arabs and Zionists to keep their control over Palestine, Britain gave up and handed the question of Palestine to someone else.
To the United Nations also came the problem of Palestine. In recent years, this small country had been the scene of disorder and bloodshed.
They figured, there is this new thing called the United Nations. Here, in your lap, Palestine, first gift.
Yeah.
So
The United Nations is has also done shit to actually help anyone, honestly. Especially recently, they still refuse to help Palestine. They still refuse to force countries to arrest Netanyahu. There's already an arrest warrant for Netanyahu. Yet who gave him safe refuge after he bombed Iran? Germany? What the fuck? Even before that, bro keeps going to Germany, Nazi Germany, for fucking protection. And I know that, like, Germany isn't like that anymore, but if you're protecting someone, the new Hitler 2.0, then you haven't learned anything from your fucking history, bro. Anything. And it just surprises me that the UN still hasn't enforced anything. Like, if it can't enforce anything, what's it for? Well, obviously just for political purposes, but not for the people and not for keeping the world safe at all. The United Nations in business, not in people.
the United Nations has now to figure out, how do you disentangle this thing that the British helped create?
A UN special committee proposed the land be divided into two states, a Jewish state and an Arab state, with Jerusalem as a separate UN-controlled entity. It was called the Partition Plan of 1947. The plan shocked Palestinians.
We could not accept the partition plan because at that time the population we were almost 2-1.
But the plan proposed giving over half the land and often the most fertile areas to the Jewish state.
From
Wow.
a purely pragmatic perspective, the partition plan didn't make much sense for Palestinian Arabs.
That wasn't the only problem with the plan. Within this proposed
Three-quarter.
area of the Jewish state were hundreds of thousands of Palestinian Arabs, including both Muslims and Christians, who had lived there for generations.
On a moral level, the idea of making hundreds of thousands of Palestinian Arabs minorities in their own homeland seemed unjust and unfair.
In November 1947, the UN put the plan to a vote. In the aftermath of the Holocaust, and after lobbying from U.S. leaders and Zionists, the UN voted in favor of partition.
And finally, a momentous decision to partition the Holy Land's 10,000 square miles.
Britain announced their mandate over Palestine would end on May 15, 1948, even as Palestinians continued to reject the UN's decision to partition the land.
After the partition took place, in 1947, we really were scared something might happen to us.
By the end of 1947,
Jesus
Zionists
Christ,
had
and
several
it
well-developed
did, huh?
paramilitary forces, the largest one known as the Haganah, and more extremist militias like Irgun. On March 10th, a couple of months before the British mandate would end, the Haganah adopted what was called Plan Dalit, or Plan D. On paper, the main goal was to gain control of the Jewish state, as laid out in the partition plan, while also defending Jewish settlements outside of the borders. In reality, that's where the majority of these operations took place, outside of the UN's proposed Jewish state. Some carried out by Haganah and others by more radical militias. Many of these operations focused on isolating Jerusalem and the roads to it. A set of brutal instructions called for the destruction of Arab villages by setting fire to, blowing up, and planting mines, especially those population centers which were difficult to control. In case of resistance, it called for the population to be expelled outside of the borders of the state, villages emptied, and for the occupation and control of Arab villages along main transportation arteries. One of the most widely publicized village massacres happened here in Deir Yassin.
Deir
We lived in
Yassin.
Deir Yassin, which is about 4 miles west of Jerusalem.
91-year-old Dawood Assad was there the day of the massacre.
Oh, he
and was
survived.
18 at the time.
We saw one night, the night before, a movement of lights, armored trucks moving around, moving like this. So we know that something is wrong. That's why we knew that something is going to happen to our village.
On April 9th, 1948, extremist Zionist forces, executing Plan D, closed in on Deir Yassin, even though the village had made a local peace pact with neighboring Jewish settlements.
Friday morning, they attacked us. My uncles, they were shooting at them, and I was there loading the gun for them and shooting. We fought about almost 2.5 hours. They found my uncle. They put him on the wall and they shot him 8 bullets in cold blood. My grandmother, she went in the village to see my mother. On her way, she got shot. My brother Omar fell from her shoulder to the floor, but the floor was a concrete one.
Dawood escaped through a trench.
No, he died too.
So it was 4 hours walking to Jerusalem.
To this day, the archive of the Israeli army refuses to release many of the images and intelligence reports on Deir Yassin. But one UN report detailed circumstances of great savagery.
Wait. To this day, they haven't released all the shit they've done? Are you kidding me? Well, I guess that's obvious. Shit. So the only thing they have is eyewitness accounts. Especially those who were affected. That is insane. I mean, and for a reason, is to... I mean, all of this is disgusting and inhumane and fucking no different from Nazi Germany. Of course they would hide this shit. They can't let people know that they basically did everything that Nazi Germany would do.
Including women and children, stripped, lined up, photographed, and slaughtered. Roughly 100 people, largely children and the elderly, were killed in the village. As for Dawood, he later reunited with the group of Deir Yassin captives in Jerusalem, including his sister and mother.
My mother says, "Where is your Uncle Radwan?" He says, "He was shot." "Where is your grandmother?" He said, "He was shot, and Omar was with her." So everybody has a commotion, Where's Fatima? Where's Ibrahim? Where's Amaryam? Where is David? Where is Ahmed? Where is Ismail?
They were all killed.
I'm a dream about it,
News of what happened in Deir Yassin spread quickly. with far-reaching effects.
The Zionist militias used it as a propaganda tool to tell people about it everywhere. The idea was that if you don't leave, we will do to you what happened in Deir Yassin.
Stories came out about women being raped, about babies being killed, and induced a great deal of fear among the Palestinian Arab population, many of them fleeing as a result.
Jewish troops routed Arab forces from the city of Haifa.
After taking Deir Yassin, Zionist paramilitary groups cleared major cities, including Haifa and Jaffa, and took hundreds of smaller villages and towns too. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were forced to flee, pouring into neighboring states as refugees.
Jesus.
Plan D became the blueprint for carrying out the ethnic cleansing of historic Palestine to make room for a new state. And on May 14th, the day before the British mandate ended, Zionists declared this state as Israel.
By virtue... Oh, God, I don't even want to repeat what this fucking devil incarnate will say, but I have to.
Israel.
By the virtue of our natural and historic right, and based upon the UN resolution, we hereby declare the establishment of a Jewish state in the land of Israel, which would be called the State of Israel.
But the creation of Israel didn't end the Nakba. Neighboring Arab countries that were overwhelmed by Palestinian refugees immediately went to war with Israel.
Now united in a League of Arab States, they are insistent that the entry of refugees into Palestine must be ended.
The fighting lasted for months. Arab armies eventually lost while Palestinians continued to be killed and forced out throughout that time.
Man.
Palestinians who fled often carried only enough to stay away for a few weeks, hoping they'd eventually return home.
A lot of them locked their doors, put their key in their pocket, and then moved to safer ground. When you leave the house and you take your key with you, it's because you're planning to go home. In the case of the Palestinians, those refugees weren't allowed to return.
Refugees trying to return were often shot at. Zionist paramilitary operations also tried to prevent them from returning again by destroying the villages.
That act of preventing their return compounded the Nakba. So the Nakba is both the forcible displacement of Palestinians from their homes and lands and country, as well as preventing them to return once the fighting was over.
Palestinian society was dismembered, crushed. More than half of the Palestinian people became refugees, stateless, dispossessed of their land.
Over time, the State of Israel covered up the physical evidence of an Arab Palestine. Place names were often changed from Arabic ones to Hebrew ones. The Jewish National Fund embarked on a massive effort to plant thousands of acres of pine forests and recreational areas on top of hundreds of ruined Palestinian villages.
Even though these forests have now grown into big pine trees, Palestinians have not forgotten their homelands.
While we know that roughly 6,000 Israelis lost their lives in the violence of the Nakba, records for Palestinian deaths weren't kept. It's estimated to be around 15,000. By the end of the Nakba, roughly 750,000 Palestinians had been forcefully expelled, and more than 500 villages destroyed. Though the UN's partition plan allotted Israel 56% of the land, through the Nakba, Israel captured 78% of the land.
78%. Imagine that. All of it used to be Palestinian land, and all of a sudden, Israel owns 78% of it. And to cover up, like, their murderous rampage, them destroying villages and killing entire families, they plant a bunch of fucking pine trees all over the evidence, all over the homes of people. That's insane. That's crazy.
It was everything except what's now known as the occupied West Bank and Gaza Strip. Today, that's up to at least 85% of the total area.
Wow.
Turning 6 million Palestinians into refugees without a homeland. It's why, around the same time that Israelis are celebrating Independence Day, Palestinians are out protesting on May 15th, holding up keys as a symbol of the homes they lost and the hope to return. For them, the Nakba isn't just a moment in history. It's a catastrophe that never really ended.
I'm a dream about it, you know. We lived a good life till 1948 when we were displaced.
Man. That's heavy stuff, chat, man. The sadness of also still holding onto your house's keys, hoping to someday return to your house. And still, I've even seen Palestinians today who are, suffering from the current genocide, still hold on to their keys. And some of them were killed, still holding on to their keys, man. Never being able to return home. It's fucked up. Now, we looked at, this small documentary on the Nakba and what happened during it. But recently, about a few days ago, I guess a week ago, Mayor Mamdani from New York decided to remember the Nakba Day and do a little small interview with someone who survived the Nakba, the first Nakba in Palestine. I haven't seen the video myself, but this is literally one of the first times an American politician, okay, a mayor, was giving their respects and remembrance on the Palestinians who lost everything, who lost their homeland, and suffered the catastrophe, the Nakba in 1948. And so I feel like this is very important to see, this is a huge step forward into normalizing caring about the Palestinian people. We shouldn't be only prioritizing Israel. We've done that for many years now, way too long. After World War II, we've just done it for way too long. And now we have a mayor in New York, acknowledging what happened in 1948. So I feel like we got to look at what Mayor Mamdani has to say. This will be my first live react to this, so let's see. I think it's like a 3-minute video.
My village is a very beautiful.
Ciao, not that one. My bad. We just watched that. Boop.
Hello? Yes, I'm sorry. Could we talk a bit later? I've got these people being the interviewers about the Nakba. I was 9 years old. It was nighttime, and my father came into our bedroom and told us, surprisingly, to get on all fours and make our way to the staircase that goes in to the roof. There were no windows on the staircase because bullets had come in through the wood shutters at that stage. And next day, we just took what we could carry and went to my uncle Hussein's house in Nablus, because there was no fighting in Nablus. The Zionists were, coming into Jerusalem.
Nakba is Arabic for catastrophe. It refers to the expulsion and displacement of more than 700,000, oh my god, 700,000 Palestinians between 1947 and 1949 during the creation of the State of Israel and the year that followed. That's a lot of people.
My father had a big, heavy key for our iron front door, and people, of course, locked their houses when they left, and all they had of it was the key. When it turned out that there was no going back, That's what they had in their hand from the house. And they probably just hung it on the wall, you know. So it became sort of a symbol. You have the key, but not the house.
During this period, the Haganah, Irgun, and Lehi militias, among others, destroyed more than 400 Palestinian villages and cities, killing thousands of Palestinians and carrying out dozens of massacres.
That's the craft of Palestinian women. That's one of my mother's friends, whom I inherited. She's my friend's old lady. She has the biggest collection. Actually, in that drawer, I have some that you can look at.
Wow.
I think it's good for you to just touch it. Actually, they're very good because this is here. So the woman walking, you know, it would accentuate her hips. And there are certain smells. There's a smell when, after a rainfall, when that limestone has a certain smell when you walk near it, you know. It's just, you feel very close to the actual land. The story is about the Palestinian boy going into Israel, and his grandmother said, "Go to our village, bring me a handful of soil. I'll put it under my pillow and feel I'm sleeping, you know, in my village." It's very strong.
May 15th is the annual commemoration of the Nakba. For Palestinians, their displacement and the Nakba continues to this day.
I've lived in different places, and I've always been an outsider. You know, in England, actually, we were called aliens on our passports.
Yep.
I lived in Italy, again, not part of it. And after the '67 war, I came here. In this diverse city, I feel most at home since leaving Palestine. I think that's important. And it's where you are. I don't know what happens to you, but, you know, I've seen the Rockies, and it's the soft hills of Palestine that actually touch me.
Mm. Wow. That's pretty strong, chat. I don't know about you. Maybe maybe a lot of people can't relate to that feeling of not being able to return home. But it's a very common feeling for people who are immigrants and or have family who are immigrants. You know, I was born in America, so obviously, like, I don't have that intense urge to return to my native country. But I do understand how it feels to be called an alien, or, you know, not really finding my place in the world. I don't really belong anywhere. I can't go to my native country where, like, my roots are from, because I wasn't born there, and people wouldn't. Some people may accept me, but most of them wouldn't, because I just wasn't raised there. You know, my own home country that I was born in, which is the US, doesn't want me there and wants me out. And so I moved to a different whole ass new ass country, which is Japan. And even then, it's not like I see anyone who looks like me or relates to me in any way or form. Not knowing where you're from or what to call home, you know, not having that community, that hits hard. What I do understand, though, is seeing the pain of my loved ones wanting to go back to their native country where they were actually born and raised in. You know, for me, I'm always trying to find my home. You know, I have no loyalty to any land. But to people that I know, to my friends, to my family that I know who want to return home but can't, that is a level of pain that I've witnessed, and it hurts seeing. So this woman describing the story of a boy going to Israel and his grandmother asking him to go to her village just to get a scoop of soil so she could sleep, put the soil under her pillow and remember the smell of her land. That really broke my heart. Like, I really want to cry right now. 'Cause I don't understand it. Of course, I don't have that loyalty or urge, but I know a lot of people who would say that to me. I can understand someone saying that to me. It sucks, chat. Seeing the people you love wanting to go home and not being able to. That is shit. That is intense. That hurts like a bitch. My family, however, has more privilege because they're not facing a genocide. So the Palestinian pain is much worse. It's much worse, and I can't even imagine. I can understand it, but not fully, because my family isn't facing a genocide. So this is why, because I can relate to it to a certain extent, this is why I talk about it. I understand that feeling, that longing to go home, but not being able to. But god damn it, shit. What the Palestinians are going through is just way too fucked up. It's way too intense. It's just inhumane. It's a sort of, it's worse than the Holocaust, okay? And I say that with full confidence, and there's enough evidence to prove that. This is why we have to continue to reflect on the Palestinian plight, their pain. We gotta help them. We just have to. Now, in order to help them, though, we gotta know the typical Israeli talking points. The lies that they keep sharing, that has been shared for many, many fucking years, chat. That even you and me at some point believed. Even if you're not religious, if you were raised slightly in the Christian or Catholic faith, especially in the Western sphere, you were literally programmed to be on the side of Israel. And it's time to deprogram ourselves from that. I managed to do that quite a while ago, and I managed to help my own family to go through that. And they're trying to cope with, like, it's weird having to realize that your religion was used to justify killing a lot of people. That's why I got turned off from religion a long time ago. Actually, I stopped being religious after the Black Lives Matter movement, after George Floyd was murdered. During, well, when was that? Was that 2020? I saw how many of my church members were incredibly racist and mocking a man that was killed by the police, and I just got so disgusted by it. I was like, yeah, I'm not stepping in a church anymore. Like, this is too common, and this is too normalized, and this is why people like me keep suffering, because of people like them. So yeah, I like religion plays a huge part into it. But let's look at this video, debunking every Israeli lie in under 5 minutes. Supposedly that's a claim from the thumbnail, and this is by Yaqueen Institute. Okay, so let's look at what Dr. Omar Suleiman has to say.
Words have probably been made to seem particularly violent to you, but the word Nakba is the Arabic word for catastrophe. The word intifada is the Arabic word for uprising. The word jihad is the Arabic word for struggle. In order to make way for the Israel that you see today, hundreds of thousands of indigenous Palestinians had to be ethnically cleansed. A mass displacement, a Nakba. The Nakba is widely recognized by everyone, international organizations, the UN, most countries in the world. In fact, Israeli settlers even brag about it sometimes.
Jesus. You will end it up in refugee camps. That's
we remember
insane.
the lives destroyed by the ethno-state of Israel, by the dangerous ethno-supremacist ideology of Zionism, and by the continued complicity of the United States government at every single level, despite you not consenting to your tax dollars being used to fund this atrocity. This didn't start on October 7th. This started over 70 years ago. The Nakba is ongoing, and the Nakba of 2024 is particularly genocidal. But of course, many Israelis denied that the Nakba ever happened, and Zionists are known to deny atrocity after atrocity, so long as it doesn't fit their deceptive narrative. Murdering 40,000 people and counting in Gaza.
Now it's been confirmed, officially it's over 70, is it 7, did he say 100 or 1,000? Let's go back here.
Happened, and Zionists are known to deny atrocity after atrocity,
I think
so
he said
long as it
1,000,
doesn't
right?
fit their deceptive narrative. Murdering 40,000 people and
Yeah. So now it's over 70,000 people. Please take a note that this doesn't include people who were killed by natural causes. For example, not being able to eat, so they die of starvation. This doesn't include diseases, not being able to get medical aid, and they die from that. Being stuck in the rubble and never having their bodies found, that isn't counted. This only counts people who were directly affected, like through war, I guess, if that makes sense. So the number's actually quite higher, but there's certain rules that only counts who can be counted as officially dead. So it doesn't account for many other things like starvation, diseases, and weather and all that stuff.
counting in Gaza, not their fault. Blockading Gaza by land, air, and sea and creating an impossible living situation.
This used to be their airport. That's
Expanding
crazy.
illegal Israeli settlements under liberal and conservative administrations and basically causing every remnant
Look
of
at that.
Palestinian land.
Imagine having to see these motherfuckers destroy your home and all you can do is just watch, chat. What the fuck? Like, this is recorded. I just don't understand how anyone can be blind to this and refuse to see and justify it. That's fucking
And to disappear, not their fault. Murdering Americans in open sight like Shireen
Shireen,
Abu Akleh, Rachel Corrie.
Rachel Corrie, yeah.
Bombing the USS Liberty, also not their fault. Mass graves of Palestinians being discovered under Israeli beaches, and the continuing mass graves in Gaza, also not their fault. The sexual abuse of Palestinian prisoners and the testimonies from Israeli soldiers in the past of raping Palestinian women in the process of the Nakba, not their fault. See, all of this apparently had to be done because God has somehow given these people a right to our land and to our lives, and we completely don't factor into the equation. Every Israeli accusation is in fact a confession.
It's a confession.
And the list of the crimes
That's right.
go on and on and on. And who's paying for these crimes? You
Me!
are.
Yeah.
As Americans suffer to put food on the table, and as medical debt, student loan debt, and financial insecurity.
And not only Americans, you too. If you're from a Western country, you too. You, okay? Anyone that is best friends with America, you're paying for this, okay?
Increased by the day. The US government continues to send billions to fund this apartheid regime and to ensure that this genocide continues unimpeded. The original lie of Israel is that Palestine was a land without a people for a people without a land. Of course, that's inconvenient to the current narrative because what they don't want you to know is that there was a historical Palestine. Over 1 million people, a Palestinian culture, Palestinian dress, Palestinian currency, a history, a legacy that our grandparents and our ancestors lived, and they did not carry out an atrocity to deserve the one that has been visited upon them.
True.
Over 750,000 people expelled from their lands, over 500 villages destroyed, countless massacres over 7 decades, death and destruction and displacement. Every single Palestinian in the world has a similar story. And not only have the Palestinian people been expelled from their lands, their voices have been suppressed abroad, all because it is so inconvenient to the narrative that Zionism is an innocent connection of the Jewish people to their ancient homelands. If you think what you're seeing in Gaza today is new, then look no further than the testimonies of Israeli soldiers who have committed this over and over and over again. This is not new for the Palestinians. The only thing that's new is how quickly the Israeli regime is escalating this genocide, because as the world is waking up, the illegal settler colonial project is looking less and less promising. But one of the greatest miscalculations of Zionists has been and continues to be that Palestinians will eventually forget, that Palestine will be forgotten, that they will move on to their new homes and they will forget about the homes that they were expelled from. But instead, those that were expelled continue to hold on to the keys of their homes. They continue to maintain those keys in their hearts, and they continue to insist on their full existence and self-determination as Palestinians. And they will not rest, and we will not rest until Palestine is free.
That's right. That's right, chat. So I guess the only talking point that Israel has is that the land belongs to them. It is their birthright. It is given to them by God. It is their holy land. And if you've been watching this since the beginning of the stream, or if you watched the stream from 2 days ago, you will see that Israel literally was made after World War II. It's literally, it didn't even exist. Okay? All of that is a lie, and all of their crimes has been well documented. Very well documented. And somehow it's not their fault, and somehow they're the victims. We gotta stop treating them like they're victims and treating them like the fucking Nazi-like entities that they are. Okay? When you point out their crimes against humanity, a Zionist is going to cry anti-Semitism. And that's simply not true. It's like, you know, you can't just kill someone and be like, you're being racist for acknowledging that I just murdered someone in cold blood. It just doesn't work that way, chat. But people keep falling for that shit. And people keep getting like, you know, they get scared when someone, you know, calls them a racist. We gotta push through those like fake identity politics. Of course racism exists, of course anti-Semitism exists, and it's very, you gotta be very careful to make sure that you're not equating all Jews to Zionism, okay? All Jews are not Zionists, but the ones that believe in Jewish supremacy, that is Zionism. Just like all white people obviously aren't bad white people, but if they're white supremacists, well, that makes them Nazis. Same logic here. And the ones who get offended by that when you call out, you know, their people's shitty crimes, if someone gets offended by that, well, it's because they participate in those crimes and they approve of them. And Palestinians have been just suffering for way too long, and we cannot allow them to continue to be killed and fucking suffer from a genocide caused by Israel. We must not look away, and we must remember and prevent more death. We have to remember those who were slain. We have to report on the lives that were lost, the homes that were stolen, and the life that the Palestinians deserve and they want and they need. We cannot allow their voices to be silenced. And so remembering the Nakba of how it happened and what happened during it is very important, because a lot of these people who survived the Nakba are still alive to this day, okay? The lady we just saw in the interview that Mayor Mamdani shared on YouTube, she looked hella young to me, and she was 9. She was 9 years old when she survived the Nakba and was forced out of her homeland. There's a lot of people like that. But there's a lot of people suffering from the Nakba going on right now. Okay? Right now. There's an infant. Okay? God knows if they'll survive what's going on in Palestine. There's a 1-year-old, there's a 2-year-old, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, up to old people, okay? Right now, they're suffering a Nakba right now, chat. And the fact that we're gonna have people younger than you and me, because there's children in Palestine right now. The fact that we're gonna have children, people younger than you and me, who survive, again, if they survive, by the way. If they survive the Nakba that is going on right now in Palestine, they're gonna be younger than us. And they're going to be telling us about the Holocaust that they survived, the Nakba that they survived. And they're gonna be younger than you and me. That's insane. That's insane. Are we still gonna let children be killed off like that in Palestine? Are we gonna still turn the cheek and pretend nothing's happening? Are we not gonna acknowledge the crimes that Israel still commits to this day? If we continue to ignore people, more blood will be in our hands and in the money that we pay, okay? We pay in taxes. All that money goes to killing these kids. We can't let that happen anymore. It's unacceptable, and it's been going on for so long. We've been ignoring it for so long. Look what it's caused. Mass destruction and death. We can't keep going on like this, chat. So I urge you guys to donate to charity. If you like to donate right now, instead of subscribing to me, press the subscribe button, but don't subscribe to me. Instead, donate $1 to the fundraiser I have for the PCRF, the Palestine Children Relief Fund, that helps Middle Eastern kids suffering from the unfair circumstances that they're put in. Talk about it, learn about it, boycott the popular brands in the main BDS list. And if you can, protest or, contact your local officials. Do something, to lessen the pain of the Palestinians. I'm going to end the stream like 10 minutes early, 20 minutes early. Thank you for reflecting on the Nakba with me. And I hope that I'll see you again for TamaTalks next week on Tuesday and Thursday. For now, I'll see you guys tomorrow on Friday for my Alice Madness Return stream. I think that's the name of the game. And my replay of No, I'm Not Human. I'm going to speedrun it and see if I can get a new ending. So Friday and Saturdays I'll be doing variety streaming. If you'd like to see me do that, please join tomorrow and Saturday. But if you just want to hear me talk about politics, specifically focusing on human rights, please join me again next week for TamaTalks Tuesdays and TamaTalks Thursdays, okay? I'll see you later, alligators. I'll see you guys tomorrow for my regular stream, okay? Thank you for the stream. Take care and see you next time. Thank you for joining, Snell. And to anyone who joined, lurked, and chatted, thank you very much. It means a lot. And I'll see you later, alligators. Bye-bye.
してるから